guys, Anya back again with Companion Health, here to talk to you today a little bit about soy. Specifically, we're going to be talking about something called isoflavones, which is kind of a subtype of a phytoestrogen, and it is most abundant in soy. So what is a phytoestrogen? It is something that is structurally and functionally comparable to estrogen and estrogen's metabolites. So this is being looked at a lot as a natural alternative to treat menopause and menopause symptoms. And this is because these isoflavones selectively bind to something called a 17-beta estradiol receptor. However, it weakly binds to it, so it's not the same as getting estrogen and actually getting the same responses that in the body that you would see with bioidentical estrogen hormone replacement. But it can be helpful in alleviating some of the symptoms of menopause by actually binding to these receptors. And it has been shown to have positive effects on bone density as well as hot flashes, cardiovascular disease. However, it is important to understand that all of the studies out there are kind of back and forth. Some of the data isn't super strong, so some of it is still very anecdotal. So it's important to keep in mind that when we talk about all these different kind of effects that soy and phytoestrogens have on the body, just put a little asterisk next to it. Understand it's not the end-all be-all perfect answer, okay? So first up, we're going to talk about breast cancer risk. So a 2022 meta-analysis study, and so a meta-analysis is just something that looks at multiple different studies kind of in the past several years, and it is a way to kind of give a whole bunch of data at once and kind of weed through all of that. So the ultimate conclusion of this study is basically that there is benefit to soy intake and breast cancer risk. And they do actually give thresholds of the amount of soy that's taken in a day. So just keep that in mind as well. It's not just snacking on a few little edamame. There is a threshold of the amount actually taken in. But direct quote of the conclusion of this study is that soy consumption and therefore isoflavone intake is beneficial for breast cancer prognosis and does lower breast cancer risk. I.e. the lower risk of being diagnosed with breast cancer with higher consumption of soy. This is essentially saying that if you do get breast cancer by taking in soy, you have a better prognosis or outcome, and taking it in does lower your overall risk as well. Another thing that is talked a lot about with soy is thyroid function. So a 2019 meta-analysis study did show that isoflavones do inhibit the activity of something called thyroid peroxidase, or TPO. TPO is important and it is needed for the synthesis of T3 and T4, which are thyroid hormones. However, the conclusion of the study does say that there is no change in the blood work on the free T3 and free T4, and there's a modest rise in TSH, which, if you remember in my previous videos when I talked about thyroid, as TSH goes up, that is a sign that the thyroid is functioning less or it's under functioning, or there is just increased output from the pituitary gland of TSH. Overall, they aren't really sure what the clinical significance of this effect is, but just understand there is an effect on thyroid peroxidase. So it's important to keep that in mind. If you do have thyroid disorders and you do take in soy, just make sure that your labs are being monitored. So what are types or availability of soy or of phytoestrogens? So anything that you get soy from, so tofu, tempeh, edamame, soybeans themselves, soy milk. However, it is important to try and get organic and non-GMO if possible. There's still a lot of controversy up in the air about GMO products and all of that, but there is data that shows that GMO soy does cause an increased allergic response, as well as soybean oil, which almost always is genetically modified, is a leading cause of something called cholestasis, which is an issue with the gallbladder. There's kind of a sludge sitting in the gallbladder, which can cause pain and digestive issues and so on and so on. The other thing is soy does have estrogenic effects in the body. You can get breast tenderness and you do get decrease in hot flashes, but some of the kind of negative things of only replacing we don't ever just replace estrogen. We always balance it with progesterone. So it's important that if you are taking in soy, that your progesterone is being checked or is in line as well. And you can get progesterone from yams. There are some over-the-counter versions of it, but it's always best just to actually get hormone replacement, true bioidentical if possible. So long story short, There can be some benefits to taking in soy, assuming it is the correct amounts and proper sourcing of the soy. But there is a lot of controversy. Just remember to keep that asterisk in mind. It's not the perfect answer, but it may potentially be an answer. So stay tuned for Dr. Jorge, who is going to be talking about soy in relation to males. Thanks, guys.